Okay, so we're going to do abs today. This is going to be a 30-minute kind of quick and easy movements that you can remember, things that will remind you to stay engaged throughout the day, as well as some just easy exercises that you can come back to whenever you have a few minutes. You don't have to do the whole segment. You could just do some bits and pieces of it, and you'll find your favorite ones and what works for you. So most importantly, our core is like our engine that runs us, our car, so to speak. And so you want to make sure it's warm and it's running good before you start driving down the road and possibly hauling ass and showing it off, okay? So a couple of things. We want to make sure that our hamstrings and our low back is happy while we are working our core. For a happy low back and hamstring health, we want to make sure our feet are happy. And we're gonna go from the ground up and get warm. And so we're not going to jump right into exercises, but I'll show you how it kind of flows. We want to make sure we have a nice warm up. So starting from the ground, wherever you are, just start to stand into 1 foot and 1 foot, coming all the way up, starting to move intentionally the moment you step on your mat. When you do step on your mat and you take on the source of this space, this piece, this is where you come to release and to earn. So we're going to begin with just some air squats. Honestly, we're going to warm up our legs and our core and our heart, our body in general. I like to start with the toes angled out and just a gait that's a bit wider than your hips, just to see where you can sink down and fall. You don't need to come in line with your knees, but that is the ultimate goal. For reps like this, let's say we're gonna start with 25, and we're just gonna go kind of nice and slow. Start to breathe, and just find the cadence of your breath while you're doing these air squats. You may find that the toes want to pop in a little bit more. You're definitely going to feel this in your thighs. Inner thighs, tops of the thighs, backs of the thighs. So quads, hamstrings, inner thighs, loosening up the ankles, warming up the feet, the knees, the hips. What number am I on? I don't even know. Maybe, let's see, we're around 12. You can go a little bit faster if you want to. Remember, this is just your way of warming up and checking in from head to toe. So let's say this is 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right, stand up, shake it out. We want to make sure we're warm from head to toe. So we're going to start with some vinyasas. These are our basic yoga warm-ups that consist of detoxing forward folds and then gentle back bends. So we begin at the front of our mat. Ground yourself down through your feet. Zipper up the whole body from the base of the foot, the sole of the foot, all the way up to your proud shoulders, tall spine. Shine the heart forward. Take a deep breath here. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, fold. Drop the head, stay loose through the knees. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, long exhale all the way down. Drop the knees if you need to. Send the elbows back for a tricep push-up. Inhale, lift the heart away. Exhale, close it all back off and rebound for about 3 breaths in your child's pose. Take this time to scan the body from the toes, through the ankles, up to the knees, length of the quad, hip flexor is hinged here, We just woke it all up and got it warm, and now we're resting. And then allow the top half of your body to release. And just find your breath here, slow it back down. Be mindful as you either gaze back at the space between your toes, or you close your eyes and rest your forehead down into your mat. Okay, let's move forward. Coming back through all fours, curl the toes, lift the hips, drop the head. As you shift into your down dog, walk it out. Twist the knees in toward the midline, in toward the belly button. Send the knees back and forth, the heels up and down, just to warm up the backs of the legs. The wrists have half of your weight. The feet have half of your weight. The neck is hanging freely. Let's try to never hold stiffness there, especially when we're upside down. Big belly breath. Inhale, walk forward. Come to the front of your mat. Seal your vinyasa with a large inhale up. Exhale, fold. Roll all the way up the spine with soft knees. Lift the eyes. Exhale, hands back to the heart. Plug the thumbs into the heart. Zipper up the body again. Begin one more. Inhale up. Exhale, fold. Drop the head. Inhale, lift. Halfway. Exhale, step back and down. Inhale, press the floor away. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale. You want to hear your inhale. Exhale. Inhale here. And take a look at your up dog or your Sphinx pose. The elbows are in. The chest is open. The shoulders are not into the ears. There's no tension in the glutes. Release the low spine. Toes are down, active. Exhale, cruise back down. One more time. Inhale up, proud heart forward. Hinge the hips. Sit back into child's pose. Maybe bend the elbows, draw the thumbs together and back behind your skull to release the shoulders. You can do about 5 of those just to stay nice and warm, depending on how kind of stiff and cold you are. For the sake of this video, I'll just do those 2 so we can get right into the interesting stuff. But a vinyasa, a sun salutation, is going to be the best way for you to get a complete body warm-up. All right. When we come back out of that last child's pose, we're going to find this space where we know how to activate our belly. We've got 3 main areas we want to target. Our low belly, our mid belly, and the high abs right under the sternum. So we have 3 main sections. That's not really scientific. That's just how I do it. But the low belly is going to be that pulling in sensation, like when we're pulling our legs into our belly when we're laying on our back. That midsection is going to be anywhere from the twisting bits to a typical sit-up, okay? And I think the awareness of knowing where these sections are is very important because you can isolate different areas when you need to. The top of your abs is what everyone wants because it shows off, but really it comes from building the low and the mid. They don't really appear on their own if you haven't noticed. You usually won't see someone with top abs and not the rest. So it's just kind of that zippering effect of growing upwards and getting stronger from your base, from your core, where your core starts. Just like how happy feet will resonate up to healthy knees and hamstrings, long quads, a tall spine, and really good posture. It's going to come all the way from the base down. So, I digress. Let's activate the low belly. The first way I like to do this is to plant the feet on the ground and take someone into bridge pose. Okay, they lift up. Almost everybody's going to lift with the tops of their abs and squeeze their butt, squeeze their inner thighs just to get up. Well, we are going to tuck our belly button into the floor, and we automatically have activated our low belly. Okay? So pull the belly button into the spine and then lift. It's gonna zipper up the whole entire rectus abdominis, the whole entire abdominal wall. And then come back down the same way you came up. Okay? Let's do that 10 times. Tip our bowl, our pelvic bowl back, zipper the belly button into the thigh, into the spine, and then lift up. Exhale down. And you can do these faster once you get into the flow. I'm totally counting that first one. So I'm on 4 or 5. Maybe if you're not ready to lift up yet, there'll be some days where you just want to pull your bowl back. You just want to pull your spine, your belly button into your spine. And that's okay too. You'll also get a really good glute activation with that exercise. And lift up. I'll do 5 more. Pulling the belly button into the spine also protects your low back. All right, come back down. Release the glutes, release the legs. Let the knees just kind of flop out to the sides. For a moment, we're just gonna open up the long muscles that connect our groin to our knees, the whole inner thigh area. Now, if this gives you any back pain at any time, remind yourself to activate your core by pulling your belly button into your spine. I cannot emphasize that enough, because the stronger your core is and the more love you give back to your back to support your core, the happier your midsection will be. Everything has to have equal parts. As much as we work the front, we have to work the back. Left side, right side, and so forth. Just like quads and hamstrings. Every time you work the back, you should be working the core as well. All right, knees up. Midsection. Now, we're going to kind of get into a typical sit-up posture. And the fingertips can go behind the head, as long as you're not jutting the chin forward or yanking on the cervical spine. I like to just picture setting the heart straight up. Some people like to even say to pretend that you're holding an apple under your chin. But personally, I think everyone's neck is different, and that might not feel good. So pick one that feels good for you, where you feel like you are sending your energy straight up. Now, we don't even have to lift very high to feel that activation. I feel it in the mid to high, super high. I'm planting my low belly and low back down into the floor. All right, 10 of these. Short, small, intentional movements. If you're not breathing, you will get kind of nauseous. I hate sit-ups, honestly I do, but this is one of the best ways to learn how to activate that juicy midsection. 8, 9, 10. I totally lose count when I'm doing this. This time, we're gonna send the knees over to one side, always trying to kind of release and reciprocate the low back and mid back. Over to the other side. All right, knees come up. Find yourself supported from tail to skull again. Let's wake up the tops of our abs. All right, this time we're not gonna use our hands under our head. We're gonna send our arms straight up. And it's just gonna give us a point of reference for where we want to send our throat and our heart, okay? Make sure it feels good down here. You want to feel mobile, but secure. And we're going to send this upwards without jutting the chin forward. So I use my midsection to lift, and then I just lift that extra inch to really isolate the top, right under the sternum. And then from here, you can either come back down and go up, or if you're breathing and not talking, you can lift, and once you find that spot, you pulse 10 times. let's take a rest. Pull the knees into the chest. Take a deep breath. Fill the belly, then the ribs, then the chest. Expand everything and let it go. 3 more of those. Think about flooding your core with oxygen and circulation, which is just going to make it happier and more willing to grow and accept the work that you're giving it. Okay, let's lift the feet. Hinge the ankles, open those toes, spread the toes, open the arches, and roll the ankles both ways. All right, we're gonna support ourselves. A little bit of counterbalance here with fingertips under the back of the skull, whatever feels comfortable for you. If you like to do the whole hand or the fingertip. And we are going to slowly start doing some leg raises. I like to do one at a time so there's no back pain. Lower down almost to the floor, maybe even tap the heel, nice and slow. Our descent is slow and controlled. And then coming right back up, the ascent is just as slow and controlled. 10 each side. Try to think of exhaling as you descend, inhaling as you ascend. Try not to pull on the neck. Try to find silky smooth breath and relaxing and releasing while you are here. You can even get a little bit of traction on the neck with your hands. What number am I on? I don't know. Let's go with 7. Let your breath be loud, audible, and warm. You're keeping your body warm and your mind focused with your breath. So be intentional about it. One more. All right, release that head down. Slowly bend the knees into the chest and just swivel here on the sacrum. You can feel maybe your obliques and your side ribs firing up a little bit. Take a few twists or rock back and forth. Checking in with the back. Okay, knees up. Find the length of your spine fully supported by the floor. And we are going to practice, as long as your spine's okay with it, we're going to practice rolling and rocking up. So we're going to pull the knees in for just a bit of momentum, engage the core, and sit up. Seemingly easy, right? Sometimes it's not. Roll back and up. Now you can get a lot of momentum here and always find your way up. But if you come back real low, move methodically, almost robotically, and then sit up, you can make it a lot harder. So depending on where you're at today, compared to next week or 2 weeks from now, try the different ways. Roll back and up is a nice massage, a lot of momentum, or slow descent down, knees in, that lower core lifts, and move nice and smooth up. Like you don't want to make a sound, like you're moving through water and you barely want to move the water. I like to think of it like that. Or I pretend I'm a ninja. Try 10 of those. Breathing in at the top. And yes, I'm totally counting those first 4. So you're getting the whole wall here, lower, mid, and upper. Also, you can use your hands on the ground if you need to, or use them on the backs of your knees if you need to. Let yourself evolve. Don't try to jump into the hardest version of your pose. You're just going to piss yourself off and lose momentum mentally. So don't put that pressure on yourself. All right, let's play with some planks. So first, shift the knees over to one side. So if you were looking at me straight forward, I'm going to knock the knees to one side, and then I'm going to twist back like I want to open that door without getting up. Okay, knees are over to the side, twist back. Aim to line yourself up with the edge of your mat, corner, corner. And you are going to lock your femur down here, lock your back foot down, and just twist into those obliques. Keep the chest up high. There's a lot of pressure in this inside arm. This one is just kind of steering and supporting, taking 3 big breaths there as we flood the obliques and the side ribs. Okay, other side. Revolve. Knock the knees the other way. Send your hands toward the front of your mat, and you'll be able to see this side is what we're focusing on. Simple, small movements with intentional breath have such a huge impact. So be mindful of that. One more big breath. Slowly unwind. Come back to knees up. And we're going to extend the legs out. Lift up the chest nice and high. We're going to check in with the hamstrings. So reach for whatever you can grab. I wore some pants today that I can grab and kind of yank onto. Socks work as long as you're not slipping around. This is a great fold to do whenever you are sedentary, kind of watching TV. It's a boring stretch. Hamstrings take a shitload of patience. So I recommend it while you are watching football or watching TV or watching a movie in the comfort of your home. You can always throw a nice big pillow or blanket or a dog in your lap and just kind of release onto it. As long as you're keeping your feet nice and open, your hamstrings are working. Anywhere from the insertion right under your glutes down to the back of the knee. Now, a nice little tip here is that the wider your angle is, the easier it's going to be. So right here, this is going to be my shortest length, my tightest stretch. Okay, if I angle the legs open about as wide as my mat, if not wider, this is going to be easier for me to reach for. So let's start here. What we're going to do though is, before we pull, before we find traction to force anything, we're simply going to hinge. And when we hinge forward, imagine like a doll's body, just kind of closing, hinging at our hip, okay? Keep those feet open. As soon as your body wants to stop, just stop. Place the hands down, take a breath here. Okay, making sure that if you've ever had any back pain, your doctor says it is okay to do forward folds. This is huge for the sacrum, sacroiliac SI joint. Any kind of pain that you may have incurred from a fall or a twist is severely affected by forward folds if your hamstrings and your glutes are not strong enough. So be mindful of that. Please don't hurt yourself. I also like to lift a bit and hinge forward simultaneously before I fold forward so that I can free that joint from being locked down and possibly bent. It's a soft, flat bone, and it can be literally pinched and bent in a way that it shouldn't. So we want to make sure that our hamstrings stay nice and open, but we have to do it safely. And I'm just doing all this talking so that you're mildly entertained while you're still reaching for your toes, right? Still reaching for your toes. Good. So once you're here for a few minutes, you'll find that you can reach a little bit farther. It might be a fraction of space, maybe an inch, maybe less. But what we want to do is work into this place where we can relax and still breathe deeply and maybe even smile. I like to rock back and forth to kind of release and re-engage the hamstrings. Reaching for whatever you can grab at this point means socks, shoes, pants. This is a building stretch. So I would say to take at least 3 rounds of 90 seconds in this. Whether or not this is a part of your ab routine is secondary, as long as it gets done. It doesn't need to be done during your ab workout, but I needed to say it so that you keep your low back happy to support your new abs. Okay, coming up nice and tall. Twisting. Twisting is huge for the core, not only because it isolates the sides and helps us build up our lats and our low back, but we are detoxing. And for most of us, that means detoxing food, beverage, mental crap, but mostly physical buildup in our abdomen, which is where we just tend to hold things, especially as we get older. So depending on what your diet is and what you've been eating or drinking today, be mindful that your twist might not feel so great. I wouldn't do this on a full stomach. We're gonna start with the legs staggered. So if you were gonna say crisscross crisscross applesauce, not Indian style. Pull the front leg out to the floor so that they're no longer crossed, they're just staggered, stacked on the floor. All right, use the knees for traction. Pull the heart up. Find all 4 corners of your seat. Your booty has 4 corners, in case you didn't know that. And we're going to rock from each corner around. And as you do that, I know your hips are feeling this. I know your knees may even be feeling this. But I want you to actually focus on what it takes in your core to move you. Say if you didn't have hands, or if your knees are high and you can't really press into the calves or the femur. Almost like trying it with no hands. Make sure you go back the other way. But you can do it and be mindful of it with a little bit of traction to steer you. But I'm using every muscle in my midsection for this. And let's do the other side. So once we establish our healthy seat and our strong core and happy hips, we can feel supported enough to do some twisting. So I would do about 5 rotations both ways, both sides. Take your non-dominant seated position just as important as your regular one. You always got to switch it up. Same thing with the back and the core. Got to get both hips. Okay, sit up nice and tall. Take the legs just into a nice, easy seated. Stand up nice and tall, tall spine. Take a deep breath in. And then you're going to take the right hand to the left knee, left hand behind you, and twist. As you exhale all the air out of your belly, you'll find that everything tightens up, and this arm can take you deeper or not. Take 3 deep breaths here. It is harder. You have to go slower, and you have to take more intention, more time with more intention. Think about flooding that entire side with fresh oxygen and blood. Because the better the ingredients are, the better the abs are going to be. Okay. Lift the knees, close the hips. We're going to take one ankle and tuck it in. We're gonna bring one knee or ankle in and up. So we're gonna sit up nice and tall, like we were gonna step right up on that front foot. And that would be really cool if we could. But we're just gonna hug this knee in. And then if you need more, when you're ready for more, you're gonna take the opposite arm, hug it around that knee. You feel this crunching already. Move your stuff out of the way. And you're gonna hug in. You're gonna pull this knee in toward the midline. It's not gonna go very far at first, and that's okay. But you hug it in, you create this deep compression while you're twisting into it, supporting your spine with your other hand. Nice and tall. Height from the ground up. If you need a little bit more, you can even take the elbow to the outside. 3 breaths that side, and then we'll switch. Pull the heel into the opposite thigh, pull the heel into the opposite ankle. Take a deep cleansing breath first. Find your hug, pull it in toward the midline or outside traction. Support your tall spine with your opposite hand. The feet are very awake and the toes are spread. Everything is super active here. You can feel the heat from your belly. So think of this as kind of a wash cycle. You've got to clean out your guts and keep everything nice and fluid and detoxed, to make space for everything to condense and to tighten up and to learn the new routine and learn the new space that it needs to occupy, that you intend for it to occupy. So after those twists, then we're going to take both knees up. This is everyone's favorite. And by favorite, I mean it's not at all. So we're going to find our magic butt spot and for boat pose. And we are going to balance on our butt. And for some of us, it doesn't come easy. I know there are some days when I just can't find it. Try to get your seat planted firmly on each side. And then you're going to lean back. I would start holding under the knees. You're going to lean back with the strength of your biceps. Try to lift your toes. Just little kicks. Maybe 10. 10's a good number. Okay? And then try to release one or both hands. Okay? Maybe you need a break. And then exhale. Right back into it again. Maybe your kicks come a little bit higher. I like to take it from real low, midsection, all the way up till you're working into this nice flat surface here. Always hold on to the knees if you need a little bit of assistance. You can also put your fingertips on the floor. These are introductory boat poses. I love to take kicks with my boat poses because sometimes sitting still is just unbearable. But you will have days where you can't. So play with it. Make sure you're keeping the thighs from splaying open. So you want to engage the inner thighs, sit back, and lift. Okay? Maybe you lift one leg and then the other. Maybe as the kicks get higher, they get slower. And that's, I think, a great goal, is just to simply start learning to control your movement. Or maybe like you were even climbing up something. And then one day, you'll find these times where you want to take a boat pose and you're like, I am strong. Don't hold your breath. Keep your engagement, but don't hold your breath. The pose means nothing if you can't breathe in it, if you can't smile in it, if you are uncomfortable or gritting your teeth in it. The pose is not for you yet, so be patient with that. So boat pose, let's say we do 10 little kicks, 10 mid kicks, nice and controlled, even if it's fast. Then come up to a nice level with your shoulders, gradually working. It may take weeks. And then maybe 10 nice long big kicks. Hands wherever you need them to go. Okay, we come down. Low back needs some love, right? After all that work. So what we're going to do is slowly shift into a child's pose. And because we are not paper clips, we want to make sure the hinge and the chest and everything gets a little bit of love on the way down. So move mindfully and slowly. Rock a bit here. We're keeping that subtle engagement in our core, but we're still breathing deeply. Allow yourself to rest for 5 breaths. Nice long 5 breaths is about 3 or 4 seconds in, 3 or 4 seconds out. So 5 breaths is typically going to take almost 20 seconds. You can draw it out longer. If your inhales and exhales are longer, that's even better. You're just sending more oxygen and more intention and taking more quiet time between poses, which is beautiful. That's what we all wish we could do. After you come out of your child's pose, you're going to walk out on your elbows and take the knees back. So we've got kind of like a half plank here. Like to keep the bum in line with the shoulders. So we're not poked up here and we're not dipping out into this space where I'm totally unsupported right here. So keep the elbows under the shoulders. Keep your bum about in line with the shoulders. And we're just going to twist or tick-tock back and forth. Keeping that engagement, pulling the belly button back to the spine, almost like you were flexing, and loosening up. Allow the hips to drape down. Press into your strong hands for a seal pose. Pressing up, exhale down. 5 times like push-ups. Big breath in, expand the ribs. Big breath out. When the breath is completely out, go back up again. Be patient. Remember to release the glutes. Don't hold any tension in the low back. And then come down. Now, I think it's been about 30 minutes, but if you want to go longer, any kind of planking activity is going to be just really great for building your core. As long as you have this sense of awareness where you are ready to move on to that. I like to take it from my knees up into the toes, taking a nice hip distance stance to make sure everything feels supported. And then from here, my favorite activity is to come from this low plank and walk it up to a dolphin. Take a deep breath here, come up on the toes. Exhale, back down. And then take a breath cycle while you walk it down. Once you sink the hips in line with the shoulders, take a deep breath. Exhale it here. Inhale. Exhale. Walk it back out. You can do those as much as you want, and it will definitely help you build your core. Absolutely take some time to cool down, or at least take a short shavasana. I love the idea of legs up the wall or legs in the air, but it allows you to release the core into the floor. Your back is fully supported, and you get the benefits of an inversion here, which are extremely calming and really good for your feet. Especially you've been kind of working this powerhouse, and the feet are doing all this backup work you don't even realize they're doing. So let them be weightless and lazy for a few moments. And if your feet get numb or you prefer your feet on the ground, take the knees and knock them into each other so that your back still feels fully supported and there's no awkward space in your back where your lower spine feels unsupported. You just want to pull that belly button in. I recommend taking at least 90 seconds. But if you can take 4 to 5 minutes, that's even better. So let me know what you think. I'll come up with some more ideas. I didn't think 30 minutes was gonna go by so fast. But enjoy.